Do you believe a soul can wander for centuries, trapped between hatred and pain? They say that on nights of the full moon, a female figure appears on the banks of the river that cuts through the small town of Itajuba in Minas Gerais, Brazil. Her face is covered by a soaked veil, her body twisted and misshapen, as if the river itself had reshaped her. Fishermen swear they can hear her screams, echoing through the fog. A sound that blends despair and vengeance. She is known as Tereza Bicuda, a woman whose fate was so cruel that not even death could set her free. Some say her spirit still wanders, seeking justice. Others believe she searches only for new victims to drag down into the river's depths, where her forgotten body still lies. But who was Tereza Bicuda? A victim of human cruelty, or a spirit consumed by darkness? Tonight on Urban Secrets, we dive into the murky waters of this Brazilian legend and uncover what truly hides along the riverbanks, where silence is never complete. Brazil is a land shaped by stories that blend faith, fear, and mystery. In every corner there's a legend born from pain, injustice, and the scars left behind by a past filled with superstition. And among the tales that have survived through generations, one of the darkest comes from the rivers of Minas Gerais. The legend of Tereza Bicuda. The story has its roots in Itajuba, a town in southern Minas Gerais, surrounded by mountains, mist, and waters that seem to guard ancient secrets. In the 19th century, when Brazil was still trying to define itself as a new nation, small rural villages were home to social conflicts, prejudice, and cruel punishments. In this setting, Tereza A.S. figure emerges from tragedy, a woman marked by fate and by the judgmental eyes of a society that never forgave those who defied its rules. Official records of her life are scarce, almost non-existent. What remains are whispers, stories passed down from parents to children, told by the fire on cold nights in the countryside. They say Tereza was a simple woman with uncommon beauty and a strong spirit. Some claim she worked washing clothes by the river. Others say she fell in love with the wrong person and paid the ultimate price. The legend of Tereza Bicuda fits perfectly within Brazil's tradition of restless souls, spirits that cannot find peace because of sin, tragedy, or injustice. Like the woman in white or the bathroom blonde, Tereza represents something deeper, the collective fear that human cruelty never truly dies. It merely changes shape. Even today, centuries later, locals still claim to see Tereza's distorted figure rising from the waters of the Sapucaí River, under the cold light of the moon. And with every sighting, the mystery renews itself, reminding us that some stories, no matter how old, never really end. Legend has it that Tereza was a woman of rare beauty. Her black hair flowed down to her waist, and her eyes carried an unsettling glow, a mix of strength and sorrow. She lived by the banks of the Sapucaí River, in a small wooden house. She washed clothes for the wealthy families of the town and lived humbly, yet with dignity. Everything changed when she fell in love with a man of higher status, the son of a powerful landowner. Their love was forbidden, hidden beneath the veil of night. They would meet in secret near the river, swearing eternal love to one another. But when their affair was discovered, the entire town turned against Tereza. They called her filthy, sinful, and Bicuda, a cruel nickname born from mockery, after her face was left disfigured by a brutal beating from the landowner's men, who wanted to erase every trace of their master's shame. The young man was never seen again. Some say he was sent away. Others claim he died under mysterious circumstances. Tereza, humiliated and deformed, began wandering the streets of the village with her face covered by a cloth. Children would run from her. Women crossed themselves at her passing, and the hatred of the town seemed to grow alongside her pain. One night, Tereza's body was found on the riverbank, Some swore she had thrown herself into the water, unable to bear the weight of her disgrace. Others, more observant, claimed to have seen marks on her neck, as if someone had tried to silence her scream before it could blend with the sound of the river. After that night, the river was never the same again. Fishermen began reporting strange occurrences, nets tearing on their own, currents pulling boats downward, and a wailing sound rising from the depths. It was soft, but filled with sorrow, like the cry of a woman begging for help. As the years passed, the stories grew darker. They say that on foggy nights, a figure appears by the river, a woman in drenched clothing, her long hair covering her face, her body twisted and swollen. Those who dare approach hear a whisper. "Why did you do this to me?" Many believe Tereza still seeks vengeance against the descendants of those who condemned her. There are tales of people who vanished after mocking her name, young men who dared to challenge the legend, fishermen who cast their nets into the cursed waters. The most chilling part is that, according to the town's elders, the Sapucaí River never returns the bodies of those who drown in it. They say the river has an owner, the locals whisper, and her name is Tereza Bicuda. Even after more than a century, the name Tereza Bicuda is still whispered with fear in the streets of Itajuba. Many refuse to even mention her name at night. They say that saying it near the river can wake her up. And some swear she already has. Old locals tell that on foggy nights, the air around the river grows heavy, as if something unseen is moving there. An old fisherman once said he saw a woman with a wet veil floating over the water, quietly weeping. When he got closer, the figure slowly turned, revealing a pale face, eyeless, with nothing but a dark hollow where a human gaze should be. The man never went fishing again. Another case made local headlines back in the 1980s. 3 young men decided to prove that the story was nothing but superstition. They went to the river in the middle of the night, carrying a camera and a flashlight. The video was never found, only the flashlight, floating near the shore. 2 of the boys disappeared, and the third, found days later, was in shock, repeating just one sentence. "She was there." There are also drivers who claim to have seen a woman hitchhiking near the river. She wears white, her face covered, and when they look in the rearview mirror, the seat is empty. Coincidence? Illusion? Or the echo of a soul that never found peace? Folklore researchers say the story may come from a collective trauma, a symbol of the injustices suffered by women in the past. But for those who live in Itajuba, there's something deeper, something logic can't explain. The Sapucaí River still flows, silent and dark, cutting through the city like a scar. And every time the fog rolls in, some swear they feel a chill, as if someone is watching from the riverbank. What is most terrifying about the story of Tereza Bicuda isn't it the ghost that haunts the river, it's why she haunts it. Behind the horror lies an old wound, the reflection of human cruelty, intolerance, and the twisted sense of justice of a society that once punished appearance more than character. Tereza was judged, humiliated, and forgotten, and maybe that's why her soul never found rest. The legend may have been born from guilt, from the need to turn real tragedies into stories that help explain the unexplainable. But what about the recent reports? The sounds echoing in the fog, the apparitions, the lives the river has taken and never returned? Are they coincidences? Or is Tereza still trying to tell her story in the only way the dead can? The fear of Tereza Bicuda isn't just in her twisted face. It's in the reminder that the evil we do to others never truly disappears. It lingers. It changes shape. It waits. Sometimes in silence. Sometimes in the waters of a river. So, next time you walk near a river under the moonlight and feel a chill you can't explain, remember, Tereza, Maybe it's just the wind, or maybe not. If this story sent shivers down your spine, hit the like button, share it with someone who loves mysteries, and subscribe to Urban Secrets, because every week we dive deep into new legends, mysteries, and the dark secrets hidden in our past. Now tell me, do you believe that Tereza Bicuda is still out there? Or is she just one of the many voices that Brazil chose to forget?